It was recognised by people like Birds Australia and our threatened species unit during the 1990s that little terns were in sharp decline. They realised they needed to do something and they selected certain colonies to protect. From that they realised that the shorebirds on the south coast needed some help as well, and they established the Shorebird recovery program in 2000, it was, year 2000. It's been amazing to just watch it evolve and you know, people, you talk to nearly anyone on the south coast, they know about the birds now. There's murals gone in, there's all sorts of wonderful things that have happened over the last 25 years that are really, I'm really proud to see what it's turned into.
The bird species that we manage as part of the South Coast Shorebird Recovery Program, we've got the pied oystercatcher. So it's a big black and white bird that most people are more familiar with. They're endangered in New South Wales, but a lot of people see them around, and it's because they like the same places that we do. They're a very charismatic bird and great parents. The other species are little terns, so they migrate and nest on our beaches each year. So they nest in bigger breeding colonies generally, and you could have upwards of 50 to 100 nests. So little terns are endangered in New South Wales. And the third species is hooded plover.
The hooded plovers, which we affectionately call hoodies, are critically endangered in New South Wales. In a good year, I usually have about 15, 16 pairs that I check on weekly, which is about half the New South Wales population. When you've only got 60 or 70 individuals of one particular species left in New South Wales, I think it's important that the next generation gets to see them as well. I'd hate to see a day where you had to go to Victoria or South Australia where you couldn't find them in New South Wales anymore. So we've got to hang on to the ones that we've got, do what we can to keep their numbers up, and if not growing.
So my management areas, I cover south of Bateman's Bay to the Victorian border. So it's a huge area, and we've got about 60 volunteers just for that part, and about 150 volunteers for the whole of the south coast. Part of my role is managing the volunteers with our volunteer program, as well as nest protection, pest control, and then working with some of our stakeholders and neighbours and park visitors as well, and a little bit of education. Having these volunteers is critical to the program. There's not a whole lot of staff, and there's a bunch of coastline. Our volunteers are generally our eyes and ears on the ground. They're the ones that are spotting birds in pairs, and they're also the ones that are generally monitoring the birds throughout the season.
I've been photographing shorebirds for a few years and really enjoyed them, and so I signed up with the program and adopted a couple of beaches. And at the end of that first season, I went and had a look at a few more beaches and found a few hoodie fledglings that were undocumented. No one had been monitoring those beaches. So the following year, I've ended up adopting all these beaches, and I visit them every week for 6 months of the year. If you see my garage during winter, it looks like a National Parks depot, full of signs and posts and rope. But once the season starts, that's what the back of my car is. If I come across a pair of hooded plovers or pied oystercatchers with a nest on a busy beach that gets a lot of visitation, straight away put a fence up around it and the information signs. In November we also have a little tern colony that we have every year down at Moggarika, so all the volunteers get together every week for that. We've put up a big fence around the quite a substantial area and signage to make people aware of it, and then we monitor the site every week and record the little tern numbers and hatchings and fledging.
The birds have a perfect habitat, but their habitat needs to be protected. And if the program didn't enable us to protect their habitat, their nesting would not be successful. I think that is why, especially in Shoalhaven Heads, the numbers of pied oystercatchers and little terns over the past few years has grown dramatically, because their habitat has been protected with the fencing that we put up.
Look, I think that the connection with nature and the environment, you know, it makes you so much more aware of things. So I'm much more likely to pick up rubbish along the beach and to be aware of, you know, if there are people with dogs on beaches, that type of thing. But the personal benefits are actually pretty impressive. Like, my blood pressure drops if I've been doing shorebird recovery stuff, and given that I have high blood pressure, that's a really good thing.
Volunteering is just a great thing to do, and it also helps our environment. It enables information to travel quicker, and it also enables people to go out there and actually see what's going on. It has definitely informed what I want to do as a career, because the work experience that I did for national parks, that basically set my entire path. We went around to these beaches around Congo. We went around to Brow Lake a few times, and there just happens to be 2 white oyster catcher chicks. And just seeing these tiny little balls of fluff walking around on the beach, just think that we had been able to protect these birds, which was so special.
I see our beach nesting shorebirds as like little Aussie battlers. You know, they just need that helping hand out there to survive, and the payoff for shorebird volunteers is seeing those birds fledge. You know, that's just that's an outstanding result